stuff.
Sorry.
Oh no.
Ollie's always dressed up.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I
didn't know
may,
what-
I wanted to
always
ask you.
Sorry.
Well, I wanted to ask you something too.
Ask me or
Wanted
ask you?
Ask you, how do you balance this advertising when you have to, when working with publishing houses, and actually the useful component of the talk?
Me, it depends who I'm working for. If it's with National Geographic, they basically leave me alone and let me do what I want, more or less, on the understanding that at some point I will mention the books. You know, and other publishers can sometimes be a bit more demanding in terms of how much commercial content they want.
Mm.
So, you do what you have to do.
Right.
Like, like life in general. Yeah.
Are you asking it for some personal purposes? Like, are you asked to present some books?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
in-
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
The books you write, or
Only the books I write. I wouldn't do it for other books, but it's weird. Sometimes you get asked to sign other people's books. You go and talk at a school and someone comes up with a copy of Speak Out or something and says, "Can you sign it for me?" I didn't even write it. Why would I sign someone else's book?
sign on a t-shirt.
A t-shirt, fine. Someone else's book, a bit weird.
Yeah. Just a little.
So hey, how was the unit? How was work? Did you
Hard.
very familiar, I'd say.
Very familiar. Is that good or not? Familiar language or familiar topic or familiar problems or?
Context?
Okay.
A bit of everything.
Say again?
A bit of everything. I mean, a bit of familiarity with the context of these workplaces, but mostly, yeah, just words and expressions. Some of them were quite challenging.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like showing the ropes. I didn't know this phrase.
I know it.
I knew teaching the ropes, but not showing the ropes.
Teaching the ropes. Oh, I've never heard that.
I think we had it at university. Yeah, teaching the
Yeah,
ropes.
probably.
It's often used in conjunction with this. So it's often like, 1 minute. Like when you start at a new company and someone kind of senior will sort of look after you, yeah, and show you how everything works. It's often used together with like, he took me under his wing and showed me the ropes.
Yeah, that was the context in the listening too.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of mentors you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's quite a common one. Show me the ropes. Only for work, really, as well. Yeah. Yeah.
For example, rushed off your feet. Does it mean like there was a lot of rush? Like they were very busy.
It's Marina's life.
Wow.
Like, every week, apart from today, when Marina turns up late, kind of just going, "Oh, sorry." I've been rushed off my feet all day. I've been rushed off my feet all week. It just means you've been really, really, really busy and haven't had time to stop. You haven't even had time for a coffee. There's been no downtime, no you time.
True.
Yeah, been rushed off my feet all day. And it's almost always in the present perfect. Like, rushed off my feet all day. I've been rushed off my feet all week. Yeah. Is there anything else you weren't sure of there?
Raring to go.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention it. I did a little video on that one somewhere. 1 sec. Let me just find that. Send you the video. 1 sec.
From your blog, yeah?
I can't remember if I wrote it or if it was a 1 minute English one, but I remember doing it.
Like getting ready to go, or?
1 sec.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm typing slowly. Yeah. So it's usually like, so it's the beginning of a new term, okay? And had a holiday and you're feeling fully refreshed and, you speak to each other and say, so are you ready for the new term? And you're like, yeah, I'm raring to go. I'm really ready for the challenges ahead. Yeah, I've had a good break.
But I'm raring to go. Yeah.
I'm feeling fully fit again. I'm raring to go. Yeah. It's the opposite of my son this morning. He has this kind of morning class at 8 o'clock where he's supposed to go and do some kind of sports. And he always loves it when he gets there, but getting him out of bed is a bit of a nightmare. And he missed it this morning. And my daughter was kind of winding him up by sort of saying, I'm raring to go.
Did it really help?
No, of course it didn't help. It helped her feel slightly superior, I think. Yeah, but it can also be in the morning. It's like, you get up, you've had your coffee, you're full of energy, you're raring to go.
Yeah. By the way, what time does school start in the UK?
Usually about 9 o'clock. So I have to leave the house usually about 8:45 to get them to school up the road.
I think that's better than ours. Yeah, we start at 8 and it's usually very hot, especially in the winter when it's so dark, it's still a night. Yeah. And to the kindergarten, Marine, what time do you have to take your son to the kindergarten? Marine, what time do you have to take your son to the kindergarten?
It depends on me.
So you have
Actually, I can bring him anytime.
Oh, really?
But breakfast is at 8:30. So, and normally my son doesn't want to have breakfast at home. So I have to fit in this period before 9:30, 8:30.
I see. Is it a private kindergarten or the state?
The state one.
Oh, okay. I thought they start at 8 too.
They start at 7 and they finish at 7.
God, it's a long day for kids, though. I don't know about you.
Kids normally don't stay during the whole day. Somebody if they are the youngest, they usually come for about 5 hours in the morning or in the afternoon. And if they're older, like my son, it's okay. But so I bring him at about 8:30, and I have to fetch him at about 6. Then he gets, a bit wound up.
I was going to say, it's a long day. Usually, my kids get home from school, even if it's 4:30 or something, they're already basically fairly shattered. Yeah.
By the way, today we had a celebration in the kindergarten. That's my first performance as a
party.
Children's party. Kindergarten party.
What did you do?
Me, nothing. The kids were performing, and it was the first time I witnessed it because normally the granny goes there.
Okay. And how was it?
Peculiar.
Yeah,
very fun, but they have kind of old-fashioned. What do you call people who work there? Not tutors, not teachers.
I think they're teachers in kindergarten.
The staff.
The staff, the
staff there.
The staff there. So they have their own idea of what this performance should look like. So all children were dressed up in weird costumes. And that looked very old-fashioned but cute. And I loved that Vanya, he's not following the group. He's standing off and he expresses what he wants to do, changing the plot.
Troublemaker.
A bit, yeah.
And
I see it a bit differently, yeah.
And do you have a little tear at any point, Marine?
Sorry?
A little tear at any point? Oh, that's my child out there.
I didn't want to mention that.
Huh?
I guess that's the hormones, and I've since he was born, I've been fighting with this. I had never been so, what is it? Touchy? sensible. I'm insensitive, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, at some point.
Yeah, no, same here. Yeah, since my kids were born, so many times I'll just be sitting there like watching some rubbish on TV or something, and my daughter will kind of go, "Are you crying, Daddy?" just a little tear, you know. Just it's like a strange side effect of parenthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, same for me. I mean, I definitely find myself, you know, kind of welling up a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No idea why. Well, yeah, I kind of know why.
Mm-hmm.
Did Vanya have to recite some poem or sing a song?
He had a poem to recite, and he was a solo dancer.
Solo dancer?
Yeah. They
What
had
kind
2 different dances, and he was a ladybird.
Whoa.
And special costume, the weird costume, but still. He was in red, like wearing red, and all the stuff, all the kids were wearing yellow. They were chickens. It was fun.
I don't know about you, but I find I'm a lot more. I have a lot more time for watching my own children perform bad childlike drama than I do for watching other people's children perform bad childlike drama. It's like if I'm waiting for my kids to be in something and I have to watch 20 minutes of something else, it's just like, oh God, just make it end now. Then your kid comes on for 2 minutes and it's like, woohoo! And then
Right. And you video it, and then you think, okay, what can I do with this video? It's nothing. Okay, maybe share in one chat with other mums.
Send it to the grandparents, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it's. And then keep it, because later when he comes home with his first girlfriend or something,
Yeah.
or boy,
Going to embarrass him hard.
exactly. Gotta go, look, here he is when he was 4. Look, wasn't he? Mom! No, you have to do that. So yeah, keep it for future blackmail purposes.
You were a ladybird.
Yeah. You can blackmail him with it later.
I thought it's for a different purpose, like when they're gone. I mean, your son and with a girlfriend, and you open the video and he used to be such a small boy. He used to be mine, and now he's with that girl.
It's not healthy. It's not healthy.
No, you know.
Yeah.
No.
You don't want to become that mother.
I will do my best.
You really don't want to become that mother, because then his girlfriend will be sitting there telling him that, you know, your mum's a nightmare. What's wrong with her? Oh, she just can't let go. Oh no, you don't want to become that person.
Have another spoonful of this.
You know, you really don't want to become that person.
Yeah, I don't want to be in that
Be
place.
glad that, you know. Do you have that expression in Russian about, you know, the 2 things that parents should really give their children are wings and roots?
Yep.
No, you know, you teach them how to fly, but you remind them where their roots are. And, you know, each of them are equally important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there anything else from the vocab?
Nope.
Okay. So go on, have a quick look at that crazy picture on page 78, 79.
Oh, crazy.
Tell me what you think's going on here.
Well, the first impression is that he's at some doctor's office, and
Really?
he's
That was
being
the first
tested.
thought. You must have very high-tech doctors' offices in Krasnodar.
No,
It's
that's definitely not in Krasnodar. But yeah, that was the first thought.
okay.
First thought about Google's office, though I know it looks different, but probably as weird. Like, not weird, but peculiar.
You still there, Olya? Or have you frozen? She's frozen, hasn't she?
Uh-huh.
Or she's just keeping her head very still.
Just messing with us.
She's frozen. And what do you reckon's going on in that weird little machine thing?
Sorry.
Right.
AR.
Say again?
AR.
Oh, like some kind of virtual reality thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other theories?
Mm-mm.
It just seems strange that extending right in the hall or whatever it is, like some open space, and other people are passing by. Like if he's having some treatment or some rest there, it's just strange that it's in this common hall, not in a private cubicle or something. So like,
Yeah. Why do you think they do it like that?
look, everything is transparent. Maybe they want to show that everyone can join in. I don't know what exactly he's doing. Pull my leg.
very, very open office, yeah. Yeah, I figure it's actually a sleeping pod. Okay, and it's in a kind of a creative design hub studio in the UK. And they've been experimenting with these little kind of sleeping pods, and people can go and take power naps when they feel like it.
And what is a power nap?
Power nap is like it's what writers of EFL course books often indulge in the afternoon. So it's like you've been sitting there all morning, kind of trying to write something, and your brain's turned to shit, basically. And you've got no more ideas left, and you're kind of thinking, oh, Jesus, it's just, oh, my brain's dead. So you have a 45-minute sleep, and then you wake up refreshed and full of ideas.
Like, you mean you just go to sleep by yourself, or you're forced to sleep? So, with power,
or someone
to me,
to sleep.
like, you smell some vapor and then you fall asleep.
Well, it gives you power.
Drugs or something.
Ah, I see.
No, you can do it yourself.
Yeah, you did like.
Bit weird otherwise if your boss drugs. No, you basically, you know.
I think it's common in Japan when people have 15 minutes sleep during the day.
Yeah.
It's regularly.
It's very, very common with writers as well, I have to say. You know, because you can.
And have you heard of love hotels there in Japan?
Huh?
Love hotels. Love hotels.
Love hotels. Oh, I have. It's
like the same thing, like this sleeping pod, like a small camera, something like that.
Okay.
What love?
Sounds inappropriate. Why is there a camera?
I mean the same scheme.
Not the same scheme.
For the two of them?
Yeah, for two.
Yeah, okay.
They're for quite different purposes.
I have never heard about this.
It's a huge thing in Japan.
Yes, there are many different things in Japan.
It's a really big thing in Japan and Latin America. Because lots of people still live at home, or they have tiny living spaces. And so if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something, and you need a place to go, you can't go back to your place or to her place. So they have these kind of specially designed hotels, which people rent by the hour. And they're like a kind of drive-in thing. And, you know, you can kind of park your car underground and the lift goes straight to the room that you've rented, whatever. And apparently they have different themed rooms. And they have, you know, special TV channels showing you movies appropriate for that kind of context, etc.
All right.
And big business in Japan, but not usually for sleeping or for work.
Different kind of work, yeah. Okay, it reminds me of The Fifth Element. Remember, there was this pod in which they were recovering, but they were also doing some other things. So maybe they took this idea from the film, The Fifth Element.
But they also have, I think Japan started them, these tiny little kind of pod hotels.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got one in Sheremetyevo now.
That's what I was speaking about.
Ah, the pod hotels. Did you say pod or love?
It sounds very similar. At first, I actually heard laugh, like laughing hotel. I thought they're laughing there.
I've mixed the names. Yes, sorry.
That's a very Freudian slip, Olya.
Okay.
Pod hotels.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, 1 second. Let me just send this over.
Some time ago, actually, I had this kind of a business idea with my students about those pod hotels, but not as a hotel, but as just a camera, a little room outside where people could, just rent it for several hours and sleep there. Like if you're, for example, homeless, or if you're staying in a city for just a few hours and you have a nap. So it's just, like big box or something outside. You get in, there is clean bed, like new sheets, and you just sleep, and everything is changed afterwards in a few hours. So that is business idea.
I would have killed for something like this last Sunday, because I landed in Krasnodar at midnight and my flight was at 5:30, and I thought, the nearest airport hotel is like 20 minutes away. By the time I get there, get back, I'm going to have about 3 hours sleep. So I basically ended up just kind of sleeping in a chair at 8, waiting for the flight. And I would have killed for a little pod near the gate that I could have just slept in for 3 or 4 hours. Much more comfortable than a seat.
Yeah.
What do you think the advantages and disadvantages of that kind of office space are? Those kind of those kind of Google, YouTube offices where it's all it's very open plan, and they got bean bags and table and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think the pros and cons are?
I like the idea generally because it kind of widens your horizons, and you can generally what you see influences what you think about, what you can come up with. So probably all this little rooms are not disposing you to think creatively or create new ideas and generate a lot of different options if you have to at work. So I like it.
This tiny little book-filled cave is where all of my creativity happens. This is it. my man cave.
Yeah, but just sometimes you want to get more comfortable. Yeah, like if you're sitting the whole day in the same chair, it gets your back is stiff, everything is you just crave for some movement. And in those offices, they have everything. Like you can go to the gym, you can go to a special terrace where you have a beautiful view. So still you can keep on working, but on the other hand, you're breathing fresh air, you're changing the surroundings. Maybe you're, as Marina said, getting some more creative ideas. Before you were stuck, and now you have a different, environment that might really have a different boost of creativity, give you some push.
And any downside to working in those kind of places?
Still, it's an office anyway.
Let's not forget. Yeah.
The boss is still
Probably
around.
people who need more privacy feel at times uncomfortable.
I don't know. For me personally, I just feel like I'm not sure I want to be able to see all my colleagues all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like
and have to look at them.
Yeah, but
As far as I understand,
go on.
As far as I understand, they usually have some private rooms. They have little cubicles with comfortable chairs. Because I've been preparing this topic before, and they have these open spaces, these huge, beautiful rooms with lots of air, lots of space. But they also have like small rooms where you can cozily sit in some chair and do some work.
Negotiate. I know that they normally use them for negotiations for important meetings.
Yeah, when we go to the publishers' offices, they often have open plan offices for the main staff. And when we have meetings, they have these little kind of box rooms, and they call them breakout spaces.
Where you are going to break out? Oh, no.
No, you kind of you break out of your main routine, and you kind of you break out into crazy ideas. I mean, it's a polite word for a shit little office, basically. It's like, I guess you can't say, shall we go into the little tiny office now? So, let's go to the breakout space. Are you getting these kind of offices now in Russia more? Yeah.
Depends on the companies. Some new, modern, big companies have these open spaces, but I guess they are different from the normal open spaces, which Google, for example, came up with in its time. For example, our Krasnodar huge retail company has got this very big building with these open space offices, but everybody has their own little table, little computer, and there are very many people sitting in the room. So it's like a reverted idea of open space where everybody's like ants.
And have you got all this kind of, do they do all this new stuff like hot desking and all that kind of thing?
I guess this is about teachers.
Oh, seriously? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
At the school we worked with Lena, we had this, like 3 computers, 8 teachers.
Yeah, sometimes it got really busy in the teacher's room where there were also students moving back and forth, and you were like, oh, I need these to be printed in a second, I need to, and everybody is getting crazy.
I sometimes think a lot of this stuff is basically a way of, it's like a kind of sticking plaster on a big wound, because I think, like Olya said, it's still an office, and a lot of the time people are still working on, especially in England, like in the creative industries, when you're young, you often work for nothing. It's like you do an internship and they don't pay you, and you're supposed to be grateful that they're giving you work experience. And then when they start employing you, you're on a temporary contract and you're not secure in your job. But hey, we have office yoga, and I sometimes
Perks
think
and benefits, right?
Yeah, basically it's a kind of, it's like a sticking plaster to disguise the fact that really they're not treating their staff very well.
But they still do something for the stuff. In ours, well, if you take like Russian schools, they have this. It's a common discussion of the management, and it goes like, okay, we can't pay more, and they pay really little. So we need to provide them with something else, some motivation, not financial motivation. What? Well,
team building day.
Learning, yeah. Like, okay, they work here and they gain experience and they learn something. They learn how to teach. And then you say, as an academic director, okay, probably we can introduce one more training day. No, they have classes on this day. They can't, they learn from. Okay, you can go and observe their classes.
Yeah. That's a bonus for you as an academic director. So stop whining about all the conditions and hard work. Just go and learn.
For yoga, it sounds good.
Yeah, it would actually. It sounds like paradise still to us. I mean, having a gym or some place to have exercise, to do exercise, that is just something out of our world.
Yeah, but then it's just more time that you're spending in the office.
Yeah, but to go to a gym.
But recently we've had a talk with my friend. He's a businessman and he's got about like 20 people working in the office. And he said, I'm changing. Like he moved to another office, a bigger one. And he said, I'm changing the whole strategy, working with the team. Now I want them to feel better in the office than they feel at home. Like he arranged a very cute space for them with the purpose for them to.
Because this scares me. I don't want to feel better in the office than I feel at home. I want more time at home.
Yeah, but
You
and
know,
it
sounds
also
like
has
more
to do
time
with
in the office.
the like quality of your home. With
Yeah, so pay me more.
yeah,
It's
that's it.
This is why so many people end up self-employed. Is Hey, I've just sent you a link to an article I read yesterday that's kind of connected to this. A very interesting but very scary article about the future of language teaching and the way in which coronavirus is massively increasing online teaching and the way in which online teaching is increasingly being taken over.
Coronavirus, seriously.
Yeah.
No other viruses, no other reasons.
China, because it started in China, and China has a huge demand for online language courses.
All the
Okay,
way.
so
Our friends, our friends who work in China,
they're all
got
going to lose their jobs.
they got the permission to work online, and they moved to Thailand, and now they're teaching Chinese children from Thailand.
There you go. And increasingly, how this is going to be controlled by 2 or 3 really big platforms, and it's all going to become like the kind of Uberization of language teaching.
Yeah.
And there will be a race to the bottom in terms of pay.
What do you mean race to the bottom?
So it would be like, I mean, I sometimes get these emails, I don't know if you get them, kind of asking, would you be interested in working online? And I'm like, maybe. And they say, you know, given your qualifications, we can offer you $14 to $18 an hour. And it's like, oh, thank you. That's very generous. You know, I can offer you this. Okay.
We are recording.
People know me.
Picture of the flowers.
But it all becomes about how many hours will you work for how little money. And if Olya says, I'll work 10 hours a day for $10 a day, and you're saying, I'll only work 5 hours a day for $18 a day, Olya will get the work. Because it all becomes about who can promise the most work for the least money. And it's all controlled by the big platforms. So they decide how much work you get, how high they place you in the rankings. Read the article. It's pretty depressing.
We can actually experience it already in Russia with Skype, because really a lot of teachers.
We'll I was thinking about them as I was reading the article.
Yeah. On the one hand, I'm working with them, and they provide great platforms and great education for especially, young teachers. But on the other hand, I guess they somehow create this, they destroy competition actually, on the market of online teaching, and they create their own rules.
Yeah.
You know, we say they create their own rules, but it's a huge company with very many different people, and they can't agree with each other, and they have no idea of what they create.
Wow. And in the end, they're very rarely driven by educational goals. You know, they're driven by profit.
True to like all the period of company existence, that's been true, but now we're trying, well, at least this branch I'm working at, we are working now on the course for teachers. And we called, like, for example, yesterday we had a discussion. We called some people from Big Skyeng to discuss our course. And they said, and we have this good idea about teaching students. It's the magistrates course in Moscow University, at Moscow University. So we have this cool ideas about what an educator is, how much freedom this profession implies, and so on and so forth. What is an educator in the world? And they say, oh, come on, you're going to teach teachers, and then they're not going to come here in Skyeng because our pay is little. Fantastic.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
That's what you're concerned about.
So it's almost like don't teach them too well because they'll get ideas of their statement.
And that's exactly what one person said who's in the distribution department. Well, not exactly, but...
So it's like the opposition, of educators and, I don't know, marketers or...
Yeah, Well,
But at the same time, there are very many people in Skyeng who are for an academic promotion. And like if recently all the articles about Skyeng were like another million earned, or this is the business model. Now there are a lot of pedagogical designers, like what is the instructional designers working, starting working there. So
that will happen, but I think ultimately those people will lose because the money wins. You know, it's. I mean, it's interesting here with coronavirus because one of the things that's becoming really clear is so many people are employed in what they call the gig economy, okay? Where you're not working permanently. You don't have a full-time contract. You do little bits of work for different people, or you're paid job by job. So like if you're working for Uber or Deliveroo or, you know, Amazon or any of those big companies, often you're not on a permanent contract. You don't get sick pay. You don't get holiday pay. You're not looked after by the company. So if you get sick and you think, oh, maybe I've got coronavirus, maybe I should take a day off. No, shit, I can't afford to take a day off. So you keep working, even though you could be spreading the disease, because you don't have any security in your work situation. And I think, you know, that's going to be a really huge problem because more and more people are being forced into these kind of contracts. You don't feel that you can take 2 weeks off and self-isolate. It's like you only do this if your company's paying you for 2 weeks. If you've got a family to feed and rent to pay and you're not getting sick pay, how can you take 2 weeks off? And I think long term, those companies ultimately, they don't care about the well-being of their staff. They don't actually care about society, really, because if they cared about society, they would pay their workers sick pay so that when they get coronavirus, they don't spread it to the rest of society. But they don't. They just keep them all in a very precarious situation. And in the end, in all of those companies, the money people win over the principled people. I won't work with those companies. I won't work with someone who's running those kind of platforms. I won't work with those big kind of beast companies, because I think put people first rather than profit. You know, make a little bit less money, but treat your staff better. It's possible. You know, it's possible. It's a choice. But it's all about returns for the investors. Sorry to be cynical.
Well, yeah, that's true. I agree.
I'm older than you know. I've seen it more. You know, it's good that there are people inside those companies having those arguments. That's a good thing. And it's good that there are still idealistic people who try to change the system from within. You know, I hope they win. I hope I'm wrong. Having depressed you all thoroughly.
A bit.
Yeah, that's true. Just thinking.
There is one silver lining to this, though. Okay.
Which one?
The silver lining is that people like ourselves will be able to find a high-end space. Okay, which is that basically there will be an increasing kind of segmentation to the market. So you have lots and lots of people who are just paying $25, $30 an hour for an online lesson, which is delivered through a platform, and which is like a kind of generic template-driven lesson where I'm given the lesson that I have to deliver. But there will also be space for people who've tried this, haven't learned very much from it. They're frustrated. They still want to get better. They're looking for more qualified professionals who offer a more personalized service, a more customized service. And those people, you know, you, me, us, will be able to charge more money because you're providing a more unique service. So I think that's the silver lining. stunned silence.
I just see the same tendency, like we talked about, just these huge companies like Yandex or Amazon or others that you mentioned, that they don't pay for the sick leave, they don't pay for holidays. But the same situation we had in small companies. The school that I worked for never paid me for sick leave. Yeah, they said, okay, you can take it, but yeah, you'll be substituted by other teachers and nobody's going to pay for those hours that you've missed.
And sorry, but it's an ideal situation because they also cultivate this feeling of guilt if you're sick. You can take your classes. Nobody can teach your teenagers. We don't have a substitution teacher.
Yeah, you're staying at home trying to recover, but you're feeling this guilt all the time.
Yeah.
So, okay, just one day, I'll get better in one day. I'm gonna do it. The next day you feel like, you know what, and you're going to work.
As if it's not enough that you feel bad. Like, I don't remember last time I was ill, like, feeling okay.
Yeah, and absolutely the same situation. And they I don't know, they cannot afford to pay you all these securities, or they're not willing. They need to develop some other things in their business. But you don't get it. You get it. Sometimes you get it in big corporations, actually. Like there used to be a big school in our city, Berlitz, and they provided all those like white salary and the securities and the sick leave and everything.
Then they went bankrupt.
Yes, and then they went bankrupt. So I don't know. Maybe we don't know how to play with capitalism.
I wonder if they went bankrupt because of that.
Well,
you know, I suspect not actually.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect making sure your workers are properly paid and looked after, it shouldn't be something we're grateful for. It should be a kind of basic minimum requirement of an employer.
That's true.
It used to be.
It used to be. And
it used to be in Russia like that.
I know. And this is what, this is why people become nostalgic for the Soviet Union, is because whatever other problems you had, that wasn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, couldn't buy decent bread or coffee, but hey, you got sick pay.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And go on, have a quick look at those jobs then. Were there any other jobs that you didn't know about or that you weren't sure of what they do? The rep, IT, CEO, those ones.
Just didn't know this abbreviation R&D, but then when I checked it, it's quite clear. Research and development. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And anyone you know who does any of those kind of jobs?
A CEO. That would be nice.
Hey, I'm technically a CEO of my own micro company.
Right. Oh, and Marina. I do know so many CEOs.
You know,
sorry.
Maybe this is how you should start introducing yourself. You know, hi, I'm the CEO of an educational, company.
University.
Just to disguise the fact you're basically, self-employed with one other colleague. Anyone you know who does any of the other ones?
Ola, you wanted to say?
I know everyone. I mean, all the jobs all these years.
Yeah?
Yes. I don't know what's the question. If I know, for example,
do you know them? Do they enjoy it? What does it involve?
I guess everyone has problems and advantages at the same time. For example, my mother she explores the problems of water on the Far East, the rivers, the lakes, and things like that. And she deals with this transboundary tourism with Chinese people. Okay. Can you understand what I'm speaking about?
Yeah, but we didn't catch what your mother worked as. Or who she worked as.
She's like a kind of... She's a scientist. She's a geographer.
And she studies what? She studies water.
Yes, water and so basically water and like all this stuff around water, like the climate, the soils, the tourism. For example, like we have a big river, Amur River, on the Far East, and so they explore and research this river and tourism as well there on this river.
How it influences the quality of water,
Yeah.
or
Yes, everything.
Well, that actually sounds like a super interesting job.
Mm.
Does she enjoy it?
Yes, she does, and it keeps her energetic and young. I think so. And she is a teacher as well, and so she teaches at the university, like ecological problems. How to say it?
Okay.
Or just ecology. I don't know how it's in English.
Mhm.
Well, so that's interesting, and of course, every year I hear that the government wants to close their university, their institute, and so they always don't have enough money, and they have a lot of problems. For example, in previous years, they just wrote an article, and it was published, but now they want them to pay their own money for everything.
Yeah.
Participation at the conferences, for putting their articles into the foreign magazines. So in everything, you should be really rich to work in this field.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, of course, just in previous years, they went to different other countries. They went abroad
Yeah.
and attended conferences, but now that's too expensive. Can you imagine, like, to go to the US, or especially from the Far East?
Yeah.
European countries, so that's extremely expensive.
Wow. But it sounds like a really interesting job. Does it mean she works outside quite a lot?
She did. She
Yeah.
used to, yeah, because when she was young, when she was young and I was a kid, I spent all my summer at my grandfather's house, because they went to expeditions.
Yeah.
And they lived not in the houses, but in that tent houses.
Yeah.
What's that?
Little tents.
Tents. During the whole summer.
Wow.
So my father is a geologist, and my father is a mother. Okay. So anyway, yeah. And so both of them spend their life in that kind of expeditions, not together, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
He mined gold and searched for some metals, and my mother explored and researched the nature, the water, and this. It's like can you imagine, like, you come to a place, and so you make a square of 1 meter and 1 meter square.
Yeah.
And you research every sample that is presented there of
Yeah.
every plant, everything. So that's what my mother did during her life.
And so this is where you get your deep enthusiasm for science from, Olya.
I think so. Not maybe for science, but for going everywhere.
So you didn't get the science part, you just got the travel part.
Yeah. Thank you for admitting.
It's okay.
So that's interesting. And so a lot of really enthusiastic people work there. And when I was a child, I came to not an office, to the cabinet of my mother, and I saw that people who
What do you mean cabinet?
It's not an office. It's like a room, cabinet. No.
No.
The university, yeah, like it's not a class. And so at those times it was made manually. So can you imagine a huge map, and one man, and he drew every like, I don't know, every stone, every river, every tree with his own hand. So
yeah, I can't imagine how they used to do it. Lots of filing cabinets and this kind of thing, yeah?
Yes.
And what do you mean cabinet? I still don't get what you meant. You mean like a kind of cupboard?
An office.
An office?
Cabinet where you work. office, but office it's like a modern name.
Yeah. Is cabinet a Russian word?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Because for me, cabinet is like, in the old days where you have like a filing cabinet where you keep all of the paperwork. That's a cabinet.
Okay, no, I meant this little room where you work.
So the room where she worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the room where she worked. Well, I felt that. That's a very interesting kind of job, I think.
It sounds romantic to us, yeah. I think to our generation, it still seems very romantic, very exciting. But if you tell like a teenager, I guess they would say probably, I would better work for Google in a huge office rather than, go to the wilderness and explore every centimeter of some land.
Just it's think of the good that you're doing by keeping an eye on those things. Because people are like,
actually, not about every centimeter. Well, you cope with different people from different regions, and some of them can behave differently in such extreme situations. So that's interesting. That's another part. So you don't have any like good conditions, and you deal with these people and that you haven't met before. So that's another part.
Yeah, sure.
Of the job. So even my mother, so she didn't work in the police, but she like told me different stories about some people who could like bring a gun and they didn't like something and they shoot them. So can you imagine?
whoa, yeah, okay.
You have to be really committed to do it.
Yeah, but that's quite an amazing job.
Yeah, it's not only about water and different samples. It's about people. It's about nature, about wild animals, and different psychological problems of people.
Yeah. Hey, go up to the top and have a look. Let's have a read through. Where did we start? The damp really gets in your bones. That was, England at the moment. There you are with your 23 degrees. Here I am with the damp getting into my bones.
By the way, have you decided anything about Indonesia, about moving back?
So for the holidays?
You said you were thinking about moving back.
Nah, not moving back. Going back in the summer. Still not
So-
decided. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with the pandemic.
Still umming and
Still umming and ahhing. Yeah. Anything you're not sure of as you're reading through, tell me. There's a little video there about raring to go. Clip. This is a way for me to find all my typing mistakes.
I wonder why only Skype has this function where you can correct your own messages. Usually you have to
Thank
delete.
God has it, is all I can say.
Slack has it too.
Yeah. The thing about welling up. That was that thing you were saying as well, Marina. Well, we were both saying about where, you find yourself with tears kind of building up in your eyes.
So I'm welling up, or the tears are welling up?
You find, you're welling up.
I'm welling up.
So you might kind of go, oh dear, sorry, I'm welling up there. I guess it's like the water in a well, kind of coming up and out of your eyes.
I'm fine with the words, but I wanted to ask you about one little sentence. So
Tell me.
Yeah, girls, are you okay with?
Okay.
And
This task.
Have a read through and tell me anything you're not sure of. Yeah, tell me, Marine. Sorry.
Yeah, this task in the chat. If it is it doable? Is it English? Is it okay? Like, is it possible to do it?
Which one?
Is it a valid testing question like that?
Complete the sentences using the words given. Do not change the word given. Use form from 3 to 4 words. Yeah. She matched for her brother in computing until she took. She was no match for. Yeah.
She was-
Huh?
Is it okay?
Yeah. Are you asking me about the rubric or what? Or about the task?
About the task and the wording of the sentence.
Complete the sentences using the words given or the word in brackets given. Complete the sentence using the word given or the word in brackets. Do not change the word given. Use between 3 and 4 words, including the word given. Yeah, it's fine. It's a kind of standard exam thing, actually. Yeah.
Because 3, like I did a beta testing, 3 advanced students couldn't form the sentence correctly. Like no match for.
Because didn't know no match for yet.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. She was no match for. I mean, if you know it, you see it immediately. And if you don't, you obviously can't do it.
Is it okay? She was no match for. Taking into account we have this until she took a course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got it immediately, so it's a good question in a way. And there's no other possible thing it could be.
Yeah, that's the point. I tried to. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good test of whether they know those expressions or not. Yeah, and it's a good kind of high level test as well. Yeah. Anything else, Olya or Lena, that you're not sure of?
Oh, it's okay. Revision will show us.
That's true.
There's a few extra little bits there. There's a couple of short videos for you. There's everything you need to know about love hotels.
If you were wondering.
So, you've got that, TEFL, platform capital, and coronavirus all in the same day. Look at that.
Like previously, when I was looking through the words, I came across this video with cockroaches so many times that I wanted to delete it somehow, to put a patch on it.
I'm sorry about that. Hey, I don't know if you saw what I did this morning, by the way. I'll send it to you now. I've just finished a little kind of word of the day thing. A very topical one. In case you want something for your students that's very on trend. There you go.
So now you can put the recording of our today's meeting to your channel if you have it. It's like,
if that's okay with you, that would be great.
It's like it's a standard lesson. Everyone should match this standard.
No. It's like usual. There's a lot of kind of random conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 quick things before I forget. I can't do next week because I'm in Spain. Sorry. So it'll have to be 2 weeks from today. But I'll make a revision sheet and send it to you and suggest some ideas ahead of time so that you're well prepared.
Thanks.
Okay.
And who recorded it? Was it you, Helen?
Yep. I'll send it when it's ready.
Can you send me just like the MP4 or whatever it is?
I don't know, Marine. I've never actually.
It's uploaded in Skype in the chat, and you can download it.
I can.
Yeah, everybody.
And
can.
then you can choose a format.
Oh, okay. So do it that way, yeah. Once you stop, do it that way, and I'll let you know, yeah. Okay. I guess I better dash and go and see what else I need to do for the day.
Have a good one then,
Right.
everyone.
Soon, yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.